Hi, thanks for joining today's webinar. Today we're going to be focusing on a new exciting feature called dynamic lists. And as many of you may or may not know, currently your forms can be linked to databases that are stored within your Formitize account, and pulling data information from those databases to make the form filling out process more efficient, and being able to, instead of having to manually type information out, having it brought in from that database instead based on certain selections that you may be making. So this new feature allows you to bring multiple rows of data from the database in from one selection that you're making, whereas previously when you make a selection, it would only be able to bring in one singular row of data. So it's a really big improvement there, and there are lots of different ways that you can use this. And there are three examples that we're going to go through today. The first one's going to be a really simple one, aiming just to help you to understand what this feature is able to do for you and how to set it up. So that example is going to be just selecting a package within a form, and when you select a package, it will automatically bring in the different items that are relevant to that package that you've selected with the different pricing. So that's the first option that we'll look at, or the first example. The second example is going to be a simple SWIMS or risk assessment document, where we're selecting the SWIMS activity or the job within the form itself. And based on that selection, it can be populating all of the risks and precautions associated with that SWIMS activity or job that we selected earlier. So that's the second example that we'll look at. And then the third example is a cleaning example, where when you select the client or the location within a form, it automatically populates with all of the tasks that need to be done in each particular room of that location. So three really good examples showing you how this feature works. It is not limited to these examples at all, so there are lots of different ways that this new feature can be used, but these are the three that we're going to be looking at today. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to go through that first example of selecting a package there. Right. So here we go, a really, really simple form where it's asking us to choose a package. So we select any of these packages here, package 1, 2, or 3. Let's select 1 in this case. And as soon as we select a package, it will automatically bring in the items that are relevant to that selection that we've made. So we've got 4 different items here with the pricing of each item, and we are able to continue to add to this, or in this case, we can edit things like quantities or item prices if we were wanting to. But you also can have these fields being brought in and then being locked so that they can't be changed as well. So it kind of depends on the situation that you're dealing with, but this one is all editable and automatically calculating at the bottom of the page. So if we were to go and select a different package, it would bring in different items relevant to the package that we've selected there. So this one has 5 items instead. So that's a really, really simple form. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at the database that this form is pulling from. So let me jump in and share that screen with you. And this is the databases page. So to get here, what you can do is go to Forms up in the top menu there, and you've got this option called Lookup Databases that you can click on. And that will take you to a page where you can see all of the lookup databases that you currently have stored within the account. So the Choose a Package one is the one that the form that we just filled out is linked to. And we can go in and browse and even edit the entries within this particular database if we were wanting to. But before we go in and browse this one, you can easily add new databases to your account by clicking the New Database option there. And you can either create a new database from scratch and type it up manually, or you can import a database that you may have elsewhere. And that can often be a quicker option as well. But in this case, let's go into this Choose a Package dynamic list here. And from here, we will see all of that information that we saw being brought into the form. So we've got the different package numbers. We've got the items associated with each package, the quantity just being 1 in this case for all of those, and then the item price for each item there. So when you are wanting to use this dynamic list feature, it's really important that the item that you're grouping by, so in this case, we're grouping by the package number. So you've got the package 3 group with the group of items being brought in with package 3. Same thing with package 2 and package 1. So when you're grouping items, it's really important that this column that you're grouping by, that each option is identical. So package 1, you'll notice they are all identical. Package 2, all identical, and package 3, all identical. And that just means that when you are selecting this item or this package within the form, it straight away knows that everything with package 3 in it, if you were to select package 3, to bring in all of the rows associated with package 3. So really important that the grouping item is identical within the database itself so that the system knows which information to bring in. So that's what the database looks like. You can easily edit any of these entries over on the right-hand side if you're ever needing to change something. So that's nice and easy to do. But what we'll do now is we'll actually jump into the form builder, and I'll show you what it looks like to set up a dynamic list from there. All right, so here is this form in the form builder. And any field that has a lookup database attached to it will have this little magnifying glass next to it or above it there. So it's the choose a package option that we selected in the form that then brought in the other information. So that one has the database attached to it. If we click on this question here, it will bring up the field settings on the right-hand side of the page, and we can go to this lookup tab and we'll see what has been set up to make this dynamic list work in the form. So the first step is to firstly select the database that you want this form or this particular question to be linked to. So you'll see the different databases in this account here, and the choose a package one is selected because that's what's relevant in this case. One difference compared to lookup databases previously that we've added to make dynamic lists work is this group by option here. So the group by is selected as package number because, as we discussed when we were looking at the database, we were grouping by that package number. Package 3, package 2, package 1. And based on the item or the package that we're selecting there, it brought in the relevant items to the form. So that is the grouping column, the package number there. And in order to tell the system that you want it to bring multiple rows in, you also have to tick this multiple entries box. So that's the main difference compared to what database lookups looked like before. And you'll notice that there's an extra blue button there, one for add group. All of these ones were already there, but you can now add the group to open up this section here. And then you've got the items here. So these items here are the column within the database, and these ones are the fields within the form. So basically what we're telling the form here is bring in this item from the database to the item field within the form, which is this one here. And then same thing with quantity. The quantity column in the database, bring that into the quality text box there. Quantity, sorry. And then the item price, same thing, bring it into the item price field. So it's basically just instructing the form to put this part of the database into this part of the form, specifying where you want that information to be displayed. So really quick and easy to set up a lookup database like this. You choose the database that you want it linked to. You group by the item that's going to be the same, or the item that's grouping the different items, or the column that's grouping the different items, and then you select which items or columns you want appearing in each particular field within the form. So that's a fairly straightforward example. But what we'll do now is we'll jump into the SWIMS or the risk assessment example and show you a different way that this can be used. So this is a simple risk assessment form with a lot of the standard fields that you might have in your current forms. So there's the date of the assessment, there's the assessor name that's being brought in automatically, there's the project/location, but here it is asking us to select the SWIMS activity. So you might have 10, 20 different SWIMS templates that you're accessing at the moment for the different types of jobs that you're completing. But the good thing about dynamic lists is that you can instead have all of those in the one template. So here you can list the different activities or types of jobs that you may be doing. And based on that selection that you make, It can then be populating the form with, in this case, it's showing PPE items and whether they're available and functional, the tools and equipment required for that job, emergency procedures, required training and competency. So it's bringing all of that information in automatically as soon as you select the SWIMS activity there. And then what we can do is we can confirm the SWIMS activity again here, and it can be bringing in more information, things like the potential hazards and controls or precautions. So it's created the risk assessment there for us with all of the data, which is once again stored in the database that's linked to this particular form. So that is another example of how this dynamic lists feature can be used. And let's jump into the database that's linked to this particular form now. And this one, it will look relatively similar to what we were just looking at, but it's set up for this, of course, SWIMS or risk assessment idea. So the activity, so this is similar to the package option that we were looking at previously. So this is what you're grouping by. You've got the pool inspection activity and you've got the laying pavers option there. So when you select pool inspection, it will bring in the pool inspection items here. And when you select laying pavers, it'll bring in only the laying pavers items there. So that is what the database is using to group the information by so that the form knows which information to be brought in. Hazard is in there as a column, risk before, controls, risk after, and responsible person. So that is all of the information that is being brought into the form when one of these two items here is being selected. So let's jump into the form builder now, and we'll see how this one has been set up. All right, so in this particular example, once again, there's lots of standard fields. And if we scroll down, we will get to the field that has the lookup database. So there's that magnifying glass there. So let's click into this one and see how it's been set up. And we'll go to the lookup tab in the field settings again. And this is very, very similar to the package 1, 2, and 3 setup once again. So we've selected the database that this is connected to. We've added the group, which is the activity, so either pool inspection or laying pavers. And really the only difference that this one has to the last one is that there are a couple more items that are being brought in. So there's more information being brought into the form when a particular item is selected. And once again, it's just the hazard in the database being brought into the hazard field within the form. Same thing with risk before, being brought into the risk before field within the form. So really nice and simple once again. If you've done it once, you really know how to do it over again if needed. So that is the general risk assessment or SWIMS example of how dynamic lists can work. Next on the example list is a cleaning example where you might be going out on site and servicing a particular property over and over again, cleaning this property every 2 weeks or fortnightly or monthly or whatever it might be. So the good thing about dynamic lists in this case is that as soon as you select a location within the particular form, and let's go to that form now, it will automatically bring in all of the tasks that are required for you to fill out. But there's actually another level to this particular example as well that I'll show you. And the different level that I'm talking about here is that you have to somehow get the data. You have to input the data saying what needs to be done in each individual room at this particular location. So the extra level that I'm talking about here is you can actually have a form that's similar to this one, where you are going through adding in all of the client details. And what you can actually do as your first time on site is go through and select the areas that need to be cleaned each service. So let's just start with the living and bedroom areas. Let's start in bedroom 1. And the task that needs to be done in bedroom 1 is mopping the floors. And then if there are multiple tasks for this particular room, you can select it as many times as needed and go through, add all of the tasks for that particular room. And then we might also select another bedroom or another living area and select the tasks that need to be done in that particular room as well. So you can go through each area of the house, filling out this form as your first time at this particular property. And as soon as you submit the form, it will automatically add all of this information to the database for you against the location that you're selecting here. So straight away, it's updating the database with all of that information so that next time we go to the same property and fill out a different form, it will automatically bring in all of these rooms and tasks for you so that you don't have to manually type it out. So if we go to another form now, that is the one that we would fill out when actually cleaning this property. Here we go. So we can select the client. So let's select John Smith in this case. It's selecting the location there, but of course you could change the location if needed. And there's a few standard health and safety questions asking if they've got all of the correct equipment and if it's safe to commence work. So just like any other standard form. And what it's now going to get us to do is to confirm the address, which is actually selecting the group. And as soon as we select that group, which is the address, it will bring in all of the rooms and all of the tasks that need to be completed in each of those rooms. So we can go through, say whether they were completed or not. And you could add more questions in this particular table as well if you needed to take photos or add comments or things like that. So you're not limited to this information. You can add whatever information you'd like to a table like this. But the main point of this is as soon as you select that address, it brings in all of the rooms, all of the tasks that need to be completed. And all of this came from that initial form that was filled out where you're entering in the rooms and tasks. It's updating the database so that when we go to fill out this form, it brings all of that information in for us straight away. And down the bottom, there's also the option to add row if more tasks needed to be added for this particular job there. So that's another really good example of how dynamic lists can make filling out a form like this much quicker instead of having to manually type out those items all of the time. So what we'll do is we will jump in to look at this database to see how this one has been set up differently. And the database will probably look similar again to the examples that we have created before, but this one also has the client name and the location. And in this case, the location is what is being grouped by. So you might have hundreds or thousands of locations stored in this database, but each one will most likely have quite a few different rows like this with all of the different rooms and the tasks that need to be completed at this particular location. So very similar, once again, to what we have looked at. It's just got the location as the group in there. If we now jump into the form builder for this particular form, let's look at how this one has been set up. So you've got the client and site location CRM fields in there. And if we scroll down, the confirm address option is the one that's linked to that database. So if we click on confirm address and we'll go to lookup, this is once again very similar to those other examples where you're selecting the database, you're selecting the option that is being grouped by, which is the address or the location in this case, and then you're selecting the items and the columns within the database to be brought into particular fields within the form. But the main difference with this one is the filter here. So this information is actually being filtered based on the client that you select within the form. And the reason that it has to do that in this case is because you might be dealing with real estate agencies or commercial clients, and some of those clients might have multiple different locations or properties that you're doing work at. So what this is doing is it's filtering this confirm address option here based on the client that is selected in the form. So you select the client up the top, and when you come down to confirm address, it is only now going to show you addresses or properties that are stored under that client. Otherwise, it would show you every single address that you have saved within the database. And at that point, we don't need that many. We just want to see the ones for this particular client. So that's filtering the information, and you can add a filter using that blue filter button there. So that's the main difference. It's filtering that information, and then same as before, the area column in the database is pushing information into the area field. The task column is bringing the task into that field in the form. And then we've got this question here, whether we completed that particular task or not. So of course, you can use your imagination a little bit and see how some of this could work in your different circumstances or for the different jobs that you provide. If you're not sure how you might be able to use this particular feature, then please get in touch with us. We'd love to chat with you and make sure that you're able to use this and that this is able to make your life easier. So please get in touch with us if you do have any questions at all. Hopefully this has been helpful in showing you some different examples of how it can be used and how it can be set up. But yeah, any questions, please let us know. But I really appreciate your time today. Thanks very much for joining. I'll speak with you again soon.